Welcome to the My City, My Game pod show featuring Raider J77, your place for all things Raiders and all things Trailblazers. Brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Now let's go.
Everything I do is unseen. But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are? Bitches out here be...
Welcome to Hammer's house. What is good, y'all? What is good? This your boy Raider J77, joined by my boy Hammer. So we are streaming on two different channels. This is the My City, My Game pod show, as well as Hammer's house. I don't know if he puts pod show at the end of his, but we are coming to you today with some breaking news. We wanted to jump on here. We wanted to do this live, so that way we can talk about it. You can talk about it. You can jump into the chat. You can call in. We're going to open up the phone lines for you to call in and give your 2 cents on this brand new Raiders news. Actually, we got a couple of different things. We're going to talk, one, about the new defensive coordinator for the Raiders, and two, the Raiders actually signed somebody today to a reserve futures contract. So we'll talk about that as well. Get your thoughts on that. Appreciate everybody that subscribed, everybody that has been loyal to the My City, My Game pod show and Hammer's house. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you so much. If you have not already, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you share the channel, share the videos with all of your Raiders fans, friends. Definitely do that. We appreciate each and every one of you. So we're trying to grow our channels so we can use all the love and support that we can get. So we got that breaking news. The Raiders have hired their defensive coordinator after some, we're going to hurry up, but it's going to take a while, like kind of ups and downs, with the whole thing. They finally hired Gus Bradley as the new Raiders defensive coordinator. Now, this is, from what I understand, is a John Gruden, Mike Mayock, and Mark Davis decision, because Gus Bradley, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, mentioned specifically one of the things he appreciated about this Raiders organization is the vision and how much between Mike Mayock and John Gruden and Mark Davis that vision matches, as well as how well they work together and how closely they work together. So this is definitely a three-way decision when it comes to who this is, but we'll have to see. There's a lot of speculation out there as to is Gus Bradley still good? Can he still coach defenses like the Legion of Boom? And the first 2 years he was with the Chargers, both years they were in the top 15. They were ranked 14th in 2019, and they were ranked 8th in 2018. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to see. But we're going to go over the press conference. We're going to talk about it. And again, like I said, we're going to open up the phone line. So definitely call in. Now, the way that this works with the phone lines, I'm going to do some housekeeping real quick. The way it works with the phone lines, if you call in, I can hear you, but unfortunately we don't have it set up. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work with the platform that we use. So Hammer won't be able to talk to you, but he can hear you. You just won't be able to hear him. So you come in, give your 2 cents, but I'm going to kind of be the middleman and the go-between. So it works out, but definitely call in. You can give your 2 cents and let us know what you think about what Gus Bradley has to say, whether or not you think he's a good defensive coordinator for the Raiders. Whatever it is, whatever your thoughts are on this situation. So I'm going to open it up right now, though, because I want to get Hammer's thoughts on what he feels like this signing means to the Raiders and for the Raiders. So Hammer, you give me, I'm not going to go. I'm going to let you go because I've been talking for a minute. You go and you let me know what your thoughts are.
It's hard to even have thoughts right now. This is something that is more or less rushed. Like, we haven't even completed the playoffs, let alone a Super Bowl. Our regular season ended a weekend 2 days ago. I I feel like they didn't do their due diligence. They went with somebody that Gruden had worked with before, somebody that's going to be more of a yes man to him and continue to stay with the same scheme that Gruden's been wanting to run for these last 3 years without any changes happening. Marinelli is staying, working under the organization, probably is still the D-lines coach. But I feel like there were other valuable defensive coordinators that were out there, regardless of age, and that's Wade Phillips, Rex Ryan with his experience as a defensive coordinator and a former head coach. Matt Patricia is another great defensive coordinator when he had his tenure in New England, and just recently was let go as a head coach of Detroit Lions. So this is kind of a wait and see type thing. I know we're going to have you guys hear a clip of Gus Bradley in the press conference from earlier today. It's just very, again, this is going to have to be a show and proof type thing with this hiring. Cause like I said, there were other people that were out there that I feel like we didn't hear any news about them getting interviews, them getting opportunities. So we just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, this to me, I'm not okay. So I'm not. Part of me wants to be excited just because this is a coach who has coached successful defenses in the past. But part of me is also skeptical because obviously John Gruden's decision making hasn't necessarily been proven yet to be very good. I feel like once Mike Mayock came in, the draft picks and stuff improved, but I feel like that is a lot of Mike Mayock and not as much John Gruden, because that first year that John Gruden drafted, it's not very good. But I really feel like he has potential upside. It just depends on, is he going to have the same results as he had last year with the Chargers, which they were ranked 23rd last year. Now, that's better than the Raiders defense last year ranking. So there is a bit of an improvement, pretty much guaranteed right off the bat. How much of an improvement is really what we have to wait and see. We really can't say right now. Obviously, players haven't even hit the field. I doubt he's even talked to any players, much less, maybe watch some film. Because, John Gruden's one of those guys, he probably busted out film in the interview. So yeah, again, a wait and see how things go. But we're going to get into the press conference, and we're going to cover kind of what Gus Bradley had to say when he was questioned about the defense. There's a lot of interesting questions that were asked, and a lot of questions where I felt like he kind of maybe, kind of deflected. But I mean, he's just starting. This is his, he just got hired today, so we don't really know. He doesn't really have. I'm sure he doesn't have a lot that he can go off of right now. So, but real quick before we get into that, I wanted to give you guys some even more new breaking news. The Raiders have actually made a transaction. First of the offseason, they've signed Trey Quinn to a reserve future contract. Quinn is a 6-foot, 200-pound wide receiver out of SMU. He was originally selected by the Washington football team in the 7th round, 256th overall of the 2018 NFL draft. Quinn spent 2 seasons, 18 and 19, with the club, appearing in 15 games, recording 35 receptions for 273 yards and 2 touchdown receptions. Last season, Quinn had a 1-year stint with the Jaguars and appeared in 1 contest. He's a native of Lake Charles, Louisiana. He finished his collegiate career at SMU after originally beginning at LSU. He appeared in 38 total games, compiling 136 receptions for 1,512 yards, 13 touchdowns. As a senior in 2017, Quinn was a first-team All-American Conference selection after starting all 13 contests and setting a school record with 114 receptions on the year, leading the nation with 8.8 receptions per game. So that is the ins and outs of that signing of Trey Quinn to a reserve future contract. Hammer, real quick, and then we'll get into the Gus Bradley press conference. What are your thoughts?
not something that's like a splash, but I know like we're nowhere near the offseason where it comes to free agency and everything else. It's just somebody that might be able to make a difference for us right now. Somebody that may end up running somebody else's spot as long as they stay consistent.
Yeah, I feel like it's, kind of one of them situations where they signed him for depth. I don't know, what intrigued them enough about him to do that. Who really knows, right now what they're thinking. We won't really know until we get closer. We get into free agency, the draft, and then closer into camp starting. So just a quick little tidbit. Wanted to drop that on you guys since it just happened in between the time that we had decided to do this live stream and then when we did it. So let's go ahead and get to the Gus Bradley press conference here. Let me pull up the audio real quick.
What up, Prince? What up?
What up, Marcus85? What up, Prince Sean? What up, Hefe KC? Appreciate y'all. Marcus85 says, apparently Chargers fans salty their DB coach came with Bradley. Music to my ears. John Q, what's going on, man? John Q says, surprised I thought they would sign a D lineman. Yeah, it's John Gruden. He's all offense all the time. So, sorry guys, I am just trying to get this audio pulled up. That's not what I wanted. Hold on one second here. I had it, and then I lost it. Sorry, I'm waiting for an ad to play.
Gotta love those ads.
Yep, can't play him on the air. Nope, that's not it either. Where did it go? Oh, my goodness. There it is. They've tried to hide it on me. You know how, like, when they do a press conference and then they have the full press conference, but then they just do a whole bunch of, like, snippets of the press conference?
Yeah.
Oh, my. And you got to scroll to get to oh, it's so annoying. So that's what I was dealing with. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do, Hammer. So we'll go ahead and we'll go through each question. We'll let him respond, and then I'll pause it, and then we'll just go ahead and give our thoughts on that. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. What's up, DJ? Mike Scott. We definitely seem to play out a position many times this year, but we sure need talent as much as we needed a defensive coordinator. Go Raiders. Absolutely. Totally agree. All right, so this is the first question for a little bit of an intro from Bradley, and then the first question.
I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Do you hear that, Hammer?
I know things have moved pretty fast since the end of the season, but had really a great visits with many people from the Raider organization, including Coach Gruden himself and many of the staff. So just first of all, I want to appreciate the opportunity to be a Raider now, and excited about the future and what it brings.
Hey Gus, it's Tashawn Reed from The Athletic. You've been known as a cover 3 guy pretty much since your Seattle days. How do you think, obviously you're just getting started, but how do you think the Raiders personnel fits that scheme?
Well, it's a great question. You're right. I think the basis is a lot of cover 3, but I think it's evolved since Seattle. When we went to Jacksonville, there's things that we incorporated. And then once we went to the Chargers too. So I think it's more multiple than maybe the days, the Seattle days. So, but it really revolves around looking at the personnel that we have, and then, putting guys in position to where they can make a lot of plays and position them to where they have the ability to make plays. So, that's a task that we'll look at in the next month or so, really evaluate our personnel. Obviously, you're familiar with some of the guys, but I think to be true to everybody, to really sit down and watch film before we talk really candidly about each player is important.
Okay, so obviously, like I said, kind of in the beginning, a lot of these questions, he's probably gonna handle them with soft hands and not really give up too much because he just started, he hasn't had a chance. It's interesting though. We're probably getting a lot more than what we should be getting, considering the fact that he's been with the Chargers for the last 3 seasons. So he's actually had to try to evaluate this team 6 different times. But the offensive side of the ball. But I personally, I really feel like, that was a pretty good answer. I feel like, it kind of was what it was, he definitely seems like in that instance, the type of guy who's wanting to come in and get some fundamentals, but really he just has to evaluate the talent and really get a feel for what needs to be improved and that sort of stuff. Hammer, what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? He's talking about wanting to run the cover 3, which would be nice to see them running something other than the Tampa 2 and the cover 2 so damn much. I kind of went over things I was reading earlier in regards to the press conference and things that he's trying to do with this defense, and the numbers that he had with Los Angeles. It's crazy to think that like now you can be so optimistic of what's happening. Like overall, the Chargers had the number 10 total defense in 2020. They were number 9 against the pass, ranked 18th against the run, 25 overall. Oh, we were 25 overall, number 26 against the pass, number 24 against the run. Like maybe he can do some things to change the defense around. He's brought over the defensive backs coach from the Chargers as well. This is very, very interesting now. I'm still not yet fully sold, but let's hear some more of what he has to say.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm in agreement with you. So they'll dig a little bit deeper here coming up.
Hey, Coach Jerry McDonald from the Bay Area News Group. I was curious as to what 4 years as a head coach did to you as a coordinator. Did it change you in terms of your outlook and how you looked at things and how you?
That's a great question. Now, I think it has, because when you're a head coach, you're involved in many of the offensive meetings. You're sitting in with the offensive personnel and offensive staff, and you're hearing how they game plan, how they do it by formations, what formations they think best attack this style of defense. So I think in many ways it was beneficial. It did give me a different view of how to look, maybe how defenses are attacking us or offenses are attacking us.
Okay, so, again, not super detailed into his answer, but he definitely does seem to have a different perspective. I personally feel like being, although his head coaching career was short-lived and not very good, that's some people make better coordinators than coaches. So I do feel like though being in the head coaching position probably did give him a lot of perspective and understanding, as to how things work and kind of get a different way of looking at things. So, again, not a super detailed question. There's not a whole lot to unpack there. Hammer, do you got anything to add to that?
Is he going to walk into an offensive meeting and they tell him to get out? Like, you're not a head coach anymore. Wrong room. Go that way.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of one of those questions, again, not a lot to unpack. So John Q, shout out to you, says very humble answer. He basically got a demotion. Pretty
Very
much.
true. Very true. While there's a head coach who got fired a week ago who may end up getting another head coach job right away. And I'm talking about Googly Eyes Gaze.
I know, which is crazy. Who'd have thought that guy wouldn't be up for another job as a head coach? Shout out to you, Ashton. I'm nervous about Gus, but I think there's a chance he'll help us. We're kind of the same mind. Marcus 85 says crucial injuries on their team. Apparently, I'm assuming he's talking about this season with the Chargers.
Yeah, and that's one thing that our guy Jake had talked about countless times, especially when you have a beast at a defensive back in Derwin James, and he missed the majority of the season. And that dude was like the leader of that defense. So they had a lot of injuries, which sucked. But there were also times where that team was in the lead, and I'm talking about the Chargers right now, where they had games and the defense would shoot themselves in the foot. And this is where I'm like a little iffy about Gus Bradley right now, because he's the one that ran the helm for them. So that's why I'm up in the air right now with this.
Yeah, and I mean, not to be trying to be over positive or anything like that. But I will say that if the head coach was still the head coach of the Chargers, because they fired pretty much the entire coaching staff, from what I understand, right?
Yeah.
So if it had been a situation where the head coach remained and all the other, position coaches remained, and it was just Gus Bradley that got fired, I'd be a little bit more worried. But seeing is that it was kind of just a clean house overall, because bringing in a new head coach, he's going to want to have his own defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, that sort of stuff. So that makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. But let's move on to the next question.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. This is Chris Matthews, KLAS TV here in Las Vegas. I've never met anybody from, is it Zumbrota before?
Yeah, you probably won't either. It's pretty small.
Where the past bridges the future. I love it. Let me ask you a little bit.
No, there's some good people there, though. Maybe you should go visit there sometime.
Well, it's a town of 3,000, so you got to know everybody.
Oh, that's great.
Can I just ask you a little bit about what kind of attracted you to this position? What attracts you to this whole defense, and just your conversations with Gruden preparing for this job, and what kind of sold you on the opportunity here in Vegas?
Right. Well, it all started. Obviously, Coach Gruden and I have that experience together when we were together at Tampa. But and we stayed in contact. When we see each other at the combine. But what I was really impressed was when I came in here to interview. It was just the vision that Coach had. And I had a chance to meet with Mark Davis. He was in on the interview and shared his vision, and to hear John Gruden's vision, Mike Mayock's vision, it was something that was very good for me to hear and to see just how they are so closely related. And it was just a very, very positive experience.
All right. So, yeah, we talked about it a little bit before I made mention of it. This was something that definitely attracted him, them working closely together, working well together, and having that same vision. So we kind of see a little bit now, because we're all kind of scratching our heads, like, why isn't Mark Davis doing something? Why isn't, Mike Mayock doing something? But it sounds like they're all kind of in this together. They're all kind of making these decisions together to some extent, or it's Mark Davis says my vision is whatever they say it is. Who really knows that for sure? But I think that's definitely an interesting tidbit that he has to mention about how they were all in on the interview and kind of shared their vision, and they all kind of seemed to match up and come together.
The one thing that sucks is we're not going to know who the other candidates are. Who else was interviewed for the coordinator position? But like I said, I guarantee you it's none of the three that I mentioned before. I could put money on that right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we have no idea. They could have interviewed. I'm sure they probably. I mean, technically, they have to interview some of the according to the Rooney Rule and things like that. So it's not like they didn't interview anybody else, but they definitely didn't say who it was, and they brushed it under the rug and probably went through it pretty quickly. So I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like this was almost like hey, that's who we want, if he'll come in and actually decide to do it. Does that make sense, Hammer? Do you feel the same, or?
I feel that Gruden said, hey, this is the guy that I'm taking, whether you like it or not. You guys are paying me $10 million to be the head coach. I'm going to choose who I want as a coordinator. They're going to do what I say. It's going to be my scheme. They can't bring any new shit in. That's how I feel it's going to be right now. That's really, and it's frustrating because you have all this young talent, young and somewhat inconsistent talent with some of the guys that we have, including Jonathan Abram, Damon Arnett, Max Crosby, Cleve Farrell when he's actually healthy, Kwiatkowski, Corey Littleton, Mullen. I could go down the list of the whole defense right now, but we have to play to these guys' strengths. We need to make the correct adjustments on defense to make this defense be a potential, I'll say top 10, top 15 at best. So we actually can be playoff contenders and a team that is feared on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, most definitely. And John Q says, I bet you there were defensive coordinators around the league scratching their heads wondering how Gunther couldn't get more out of these players. I agree, and they're probably sitting there wondering how come he had a job for 3 years, for 3 seasons, as poor as it was from the very beginning. So it's funny that you had mentioned that, Hammer, because they do coming up here. They do talk a little bit more about, what his vision is and what he would like to see. But again, none of this matters if what you said, if what you said doesn't stay true, which is John Gruden humbling himself and allowing the defensive coordinator to do his defensive coordinating job, as opposed to being, coming in and pushing his will and what he wants and his scheme and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just have to, that's another one of those wait and sees, but he does have something to say here in a little bit, but we'll go to the next question.
It's Josh Gibao from Associated Press. Just wondering, some defensive coaches have the philosophy of building from the line back and some from the secondary up in terms of how they want their defense. Do you have a philosophy on that and just how you want to build the defense?
Well, I think that had the ability in Tampa really started off coaching the linebackers and played a secondary in college. But I know really where it all starts is up front. And I think that's first and foremost, to get things right up front and, and then fill it in everywhere else. But you need quality players at each group, at each level to be successful in the NFL. And then, the ability to really communicate that information to them so it truly looks like football.
You got any thoughts on that, Hammer?
I see where he wants to start, and it's up front, obviously. This is what Gruden said at the season-ending media conference, that he preferred to stay in the 4-3. Now, mind you, Gus Bradley was the architect of Seattle's Legion of Boom.
Yep.
That secondary was ridiculous when he was a team's defensive coordinator from 2009 to 2012. And his defenses then played a lot of cover 3. And it's I don't see why you don't want to go with that, especially with the guys that you have in the secondary. The guys can move. The guys love to hit, obviously. Arnett, please, if you're watching, stop with the helmet to helmets. We want to see you
right
past your rookie contract. We don't want to see you out of the league when your rookie contract is up. But I grew up high school wise playing out of the cover 3, and we played a lot of 4-3 defense, at least the first high school I went to. But the cover 3 is meant for those fast sideline to sideline type of defensive backs. It's meant for linebackers that could do the same thing, that could cover in the flats like lightning. But we need guys like that too. Like Littleton was not great this year. He was not shining the way he was when he played under Wade Phillips as his defensive coordinator for the Rams. Things are going to have to be put in place to make those correct adjustments for these guys. And if they want to play the cover 3, play cover 3, but play it the right way. The cover 2 is not working for them right now, but you have to make sure that you guys are playing. You have to make sure that you're playing to each and every single one of these players' strengths on defense right now, because that's the only way the defense is going to succeed going into this season.
Most definitely. I definitely agree with you. And we'll just go ahead and move on to the next question, because we are actually going to get more into that, what you just said here in a minute.
Welcome to Vegas, Gus. Leva Edwards from Raiders.com. Being on the outside looking in for 3 years with the Chargers, what would you say has been the strengths of the Raiders defense, and are you excited about working with them?
Well, I would say this, to be honest with you, you don't spend a lot of time watching the other side's defense. The offense, the Raiders offense, have had a chance to look at them for the last 3 years, 6 times that we played each other. So, but I do know this, that the Raiders, when we prepare for them, when we talk about the Raiders as a team, we know that they play extremely hard and with great effort. And that's what I know every week in, week out when we play them during those times. That's what you saw on tape. I think as far as for me as a defensive coordinator, watching the offense, I've just seen it grow the last 3 years, the offense. I think that, they're getting pieces in place, but really just how the offense has evolved. And it's a very difficult offense to get a feeling for how they're going to attack you as a defense because they're very multiple. And I think they do a really good job of utilizing their talent. So, I'm more familiar with the offensive side and been very impressed with that. Know they've got a lot of skilled players, a lot of talent up front, and it's always a challenge to game plan. And then defensively, just that their ability to play hard and they make plays. They were making plays at critical times, and if you can do that as a defense consistently, you got a chance.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say about that is obviously he's not going to come out and be like, this freaking defense stinks, right? Even though it's true, he's not going to come out and say that. But what I will say is that what he says there is not necessarily untrue. There were flashes at times where you saw this defense play this season and make big plays, big interceptions, big forced fumbles and things of that sort. So they definitely have the ability. There's talent on this defense right now, and talent that can be added coming up in the draft and free agency that definitely will make this defense, if coached right and schemed right, like Hammer was talking about a little bit ago, will make this defense definitely a top 15, top 10 defense. What do you think, Hammer?
I love how he sees our offense and how great our offense has evolved over the last 3 years. Yeah, we've evolved, but there's also the same damn offense, that same West Coast short pass game offense. Yeah, we got new weapons, we got new shiny toys, but they were underutilized this year. Henry Ruggs had more fumbles than he did touchdowns. Congratulations, you played yourself. Brian Edwards, the kid out of South Carolina, big body, could be a great wideout. He was injured early in the season, and they hardly utilized him once he was at full health. But yeah, there's flashes on offense. Woohoo! But we're not here to talk about the offense. We're here to talk about the defense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that killed us. The main thing that killed us was stupid, undisciplined penalties.
Yep.
Mullen killed us a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember right now at the top of my head what game it was, but it was penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty by Mullen and Mullen alone.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I said even last season. And if you look in one of the Raider group pages, you'll probably find my video while I'm in the car talking about the main problems that we had. And it was one, the defense was horrible, as they were again this year, and stupid penalties. They need to clean that up. When the season first started, a couple of games in, I think it was up until we played the Patriots, we're the least penalized team in the league. And then while we played the Patriots, that was out the window. All of a sudden, we were back to undisciplined football. That stuff has to be cleaned up immediately.
Yeah, because that's stuff that will that'll kill you. It doesn't matter how many great plays you make.
Yep.
Those penalties will kill you every single time because you'll get in 3rd and 4th down situations, and all of a sudden now you're dealing with 1st and 10, or whatever the case may be, 2nd and 5, that sort of stuff. So, so definitely clean those up, and he'll talk a little bit about that too coming up here in a minute.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations. This is Anthony from the Fresno Bee. You just talked about vision just a minute ago. Just curious, what is your vision for this for your new defense, and what do you want to see from the players? I know it's early, but just have you thought about that yet?
Sure. Yeah, I think that the style that you should see is a team that plays with great effort, great enthusiasm, great toughness, and a defense that plays smart. That is our key. That's the style when people talk. Now, if you just said, hey, what is our non-negotiables? That is fast, physical, and we've got to find a way to get the ball. And we got to set up opportunities for the offense to score, give them possessions. And, every call that we design is really, even if it's just a 3 deep, like you say, or man coverage, we want the players to have the mindset that every call that we have is designed to get the ball. And it's very important, the communication that takes place within the defense. We're going to add defenses. We're going to be very multiple, but not at the expense that we don't play fast. That's first and foremost.
Hey Gus,
Yeah, so that's something that that's something I really like that he had to say right there. That really struck me is he said we're gonna have a defense that is dynamic and a scheme that has multiple disguises and multiple layers and things like that, multiple facets, but not at the expense of being able to play fast. Because I feel like that's something that really bogged this defense down and really made it difficult, especially for these young players, is that Paul Gunther had so many different his verbiage and his layers and there was so much to it all that I really feel like you couldn't be successful. And you couldn't be successful, especially with young players who are just coming into the league. Keep it dynamic and keep it disguised and have layers, but not so much that you just can't play fast, that you're just always thinking. A thinking man is a dead man in football. You got to be able to go out there and let your body and your skill and your muscle memory do the playing for you. And if you don't do that and you're in your head, you're going to be slow, you're going to make poor choices, and that's when you get the penalties. What do you think, Hammer?
Keep the verbiage simple. Keep the communicate. You guys see something out on the field? Because you see what we do when we do the live play-by-play. I will read out an offense to you the second the play is coming out to the line. Linebacker, make the call. Echo it throughout the secondary as well. If you see if you see two receivers stacked, make sure you have a banjo call. You see somebody coming across the middle, make the call. Make the adjustments the right way, but make sure it's simple verbiage. It doesn't need to be over the top, this, that, and the third. The one thing that I would like to see as well with this defense coming in is doing some stunts, because I feel like I hardly ever saw that many stunts being run with the defensive line alone. Some simple stuff like that, but the communication is a major key. And we saw a lot of that throughout the season with a lot of broken plays, like pass plays, and more than anything. A lot of broken plays, a lot of bad communication where guys are missing their assignments. That should not be happening. You're at the next level. You're in the NFL. Things like that should not be happening, especially not on a consistent basis.
Yeah, most definitely. I totally agree. All right, so on to the next question.
Eddie Buster with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm sure part of the process in talking to John was articulating your plan for getting the current players from point A to B to C. And so on and so forth. They've made a lot of investments in draft picks, free agency, and getting some pieces in place. From what you've seen in the short film work or whatever that you've done looking at this defense, what is your plan for getting some of these younger players, Cleve Farrell, Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen, Jonathan Abram, up to speed and to that next level?
Well, I think first and foremost is to build what obviously the previous staff has done here. I mean, you're doing a great job with fundamentals and things like that, and then you involve a new system. What I would say is it is a system now we have in place, and there's things that are non-negotiables, but we also don't want our players to be robots. There's things that we do that we feel strongly about, and it's really based on fundamentals and things like communication, fundamentals, tackling, guys get off, up front with the defensive line. So there's some non-negotiables like that. It's an exciting defense to play, and I would say that the players will be very excited to be a part of it because they know that they're going to have the ability to play fast. And I think as our job as coaches is really to evaluate the players and then put them in position to where they can make plays. And like I said, for me to be fair to the players, that's what's going to take place the next month or so. We're going to be heavy in tune to it. I'm excited about a guy, Coach Rod Marinelli is going to be a part of this staff, and he was another big reason why this was so important, I think, to take a look at this opportunity. I've got great respect for Coach Marinelli, and he'll be a great sounding board along with guys like Travis Smith and understanding some of the personnel things. But as coaches, you got to watch the tape and formulate your own opinions as well.
Yeah, so that's definitely there was one part at the beginning I didn't really agree with, but I'm going to brush over that. You probably have something to say about that, Hammer. But I definitely agree, and I like the fact that he said, "Hey, got to be fair to the players, got to check them out, formulate my own opinion, and do and make things, modify things to play to the player's strengths, to put them in the best position to succeed, which Paul Gunther did not do.
And I've been
at
saying
all.
I've been saying this for weeks. You should have
Right?
hired me as a D coordinator. I've been saying the same damn thing for weeks.
Yeah, most definitely. So I definitely, I like the fact that he had that to say. Again, we'll have to see how well that translates with John Gruden. As far as this guy coming in, I do feel like, I get the fact that, there is a foundation, that has been built, but if that foundation can't support, a good defense, I feel like what is the problem with ripping the foundation up and laying a new one? So what do you think, Hammer?
He's saying he wants to like more or less break down film and evaluate these guys like player by player. Like I could have put some tape together for you myself and gave you that and told you where the problems are, and had no interior rush, really not a solidified one. That's for damn sure. And it starts with the front seven. Definitely need to reevaluate who we have as a defensive tackle right now. A secondary, of course, I constantly say it, and I have one guy in mind right now at the safety position to complement Abram, if Abram can stay on the field and get his head right. And that's Javon Holland out of Oregon. Like, this kid is a number one prospect as a safety. He did take the year off this past season due to COVID and to prepare for the NFL draft. He is the number one ranked safety in the nation. I watched his tape. He could be a game changer in that secondary alongside with other bits and pieces they need to fill for some of these holes that we have in our defense right now.
I agree. You and I have actually talked about that a little bit already. So I definitely feel like, a safety, bringing in a safety in the draft is crucial. I was very happy to hear, and nothing personal. This is business, Sonny. It's not personal. I was glad to know that Eric Harris sounds like most likely not coming back next season.
Thank God.
Hey,
sorry.
Wish you the best of success. See you later.
Don't
want to
your
see you
future
no more.
endeavors.
Yeah, take the silver and black off. Have a good one. But yeah, I definitely feel like we should definitely bring in a safety in the draft. Hopefully we can get who you're talking about, but we'll definitely have to see, because it sounds like he's going to be high when it comes to safeties on the draft board. So, all right, so we'll go to the next question.
Hey, Coach Jerry McDonald again from Bay Area News Group. There's still no telling how much you're going to actually get hands-on with these guys in the offseason. All that stuff's got to be worked out. Practice time is more scarce than it's ever been. I'm curious whether you think your defense is an easy defense to learn. Can you play fast, or are you trying to make sure that it's quick enough so that they can play fast?
Yeah, I would say this: I think back when it all started, a little bit of history when we were at Seattle, when we, there's some of us that came up and went into a room and kind of designed it. There's always things that are copied, but the foundation of the defense, really, when it was brought to our attention, was, hey, try to design something that allows young players to come in and play early. It's not a defense that you're going to come to us and say, I need this 12-year veteran, I need this 13-year veteran, because, they're the ones that understand the system. And it wasn't brought up in that fashion. So we knew we had to design something that players could learn and understand, and maybe it was simplified for them and makes it hard on offenses. And that was the whole idea behind it. So, back in the day, that's why you saw Earl Thomas come in and play early, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner. These were young players that played early. So it is a big part of it. We try to design it so players have a chance to come in and play early. But yet, just like anything, there's, defenses, you've got to be multiple. And you can't sit in one thing or two things the whole time and allow offenses just to tee off. So there's some things to it, but I think really was heavy on it is the fundamental part of it. That's the detail that comes into it.
All right, so that is something that I was when he said that, it made me feel really, really good. It made me feel very, very comfortable. It kind of, swaddled me and rocked me. No, no, something I really liked that he said was being able to have a defense where guys can come in, new players, young players, rookies can come in and they can be successful right away. That is something that we have really not seen with the Raiders since I can't even remember. Guys being able to come in and have an immediate impact. You see Jonathan Abram, you see Trayvon Mullen, Damon Arnett, Cleveland Farrell and Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby really was the only guy that I've seen come in and make a kind of a big splash.
Yep.
And so one out of I don't know how many, but being able to bring guys in that are young, because again, you don't want to be spending all your cap money on, big contracts to seasoned veterans, because those are the only guys that can figure your system out. You want to be able to bring in guys, from the draft and some, unsigned free agents and stuff like that, who can come in, undrafted free agents who could come in and make an impact immediately, learn the system. You don't got to develop them for 2, 3, 4 years, and then potentially be hurt. That's being able to capitalize on the draft to the fullest extent, and I like that. What do you think, Hammer?
We had a new linebacking core that was supposed to make an impact. 3 new guys, and they couldn't make an impact with Paul Guenther's defense. So hopefully the guys that we have now and the guys that we potentially get in free agency and through the draft will have an impact under Gus Bradley's reign as a new defensive coordinator. We just have to wait and see how this plays out. And like they said, with COVID and everything, and how things have changed dramatically in the NFL when it comes to OTAs, when it comes to training camp and preseason, or even practices during the regular season, you're so limited to what you can do now. You're not as physical as you once were. I think you guys are only in full gear and hitting like one day a week. That's not enough. Mm-hmm. I know they're pulling back with safety protocols and everything, but that's not enough for somebody when your job is to hit people, knock the snot out of them on a regular basis. So everybody just has to adjust, especially with everything going on now, and we got to wait and see how this plays out now.
Yeah, most definitely. Real quick before we move on, shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate y'all. Shout out Keith England, Ashton. Shout out John Q. Shout out Emily Stanley, Jeff Smith. Shout out B. Al, Ashton. I already read that. Shout out Zach. Shout out John Q. Appreciate y'all for being in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question that was asked of the new Raiders defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley.
Yeah, Coach, it's Ed Graney from the Review-Journal in Las Vegas. You talked about going and getting the ball, and obviously their takeaways have not been what John has wanted in 3 years, and I assume that comes down to players and talent. But are there other ways in your career you can see where those things can be created more to make it easier on a defense with the takeaways?
Well, it is. I've been a part of defenses where, you've done really well in getting takeaways, and then the next year, you emphasize the same things and you're not quite as productive. So it's still, like I said, it comes down to make sure the calls give players opportunity to get the ball out. And then there's a mindset to go get the ball and not miss any opportunities. And these are things we preach every week, every day in practice. Every rep is, about tackling. Every rep is about getting the ball. And it's kind of a mindset that we're trying to develop with the players. And, and also I think there's innate ability. There's guys that, in college, they have a tendency to get the ball. They're ball hawks. And a lot of times that transfers over when they come into the NFL. So, I think it's important to have guys that have that mindset, as well as I believe it can be developed.
Let's do 3 more questions.
All right. So, Hammer, what are your thoughts on that? Can't hear you.
That better?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, so for some, it carries over when they get to the league. For others, like Jonathan Abram, Damon Arnett, it doesn't carry over. Just play reckless. No, it's not what we do. Stop it, please.
Yeah, utilize the talent that you have. Don't play like your hair is on fire and you're trying to get to the river necessarily. Have a little bit of discipline. Be fast, sideline to sideline, all that good stuff. Everybody likes to see a hard hit here and there, but stop trying to hurt yourself.
Questions, guys. Cassie, Sam, and then Chris.
Hi, Coach. Cassie Soto with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. What were some of the major selling points to accept this position, and how excited are you to get to the city of Las Vegas?
Very excited. I mean, it wasn't hard. First of all, you're sitting in a meeting with Coach Gruen, who's awesome. And then we had, Mark Davis in there, Rod Marinelli, multiple other guests that came in there, stopped by. So you could just get a feeling that, they're all in this together. And like I said earlier, there's the same vision. And then excited about, being a part of the Raider tradition. I grew up in Minnesota. I remember in the Super Bowl, a Vikings game, so there's a long history of having great respect for the Raiders organization and the tradition. And, it's, the fans, the history, iconic organization that's known all over. So to be a part of that, and obviously winning is extremely important. And as a coach, to come into a situation where winning is that important, that's all you can hope for. And this shares the same philosophy as you do. So, and then the Vegas part of it. You hear so many good things. It really is. When you talk to coaches that are here, and there's not one negative thing about being in Vegas. It's all positive. So, we could feel it even when I was part of the Chargers driving up to the stadium. The stadium's located, and there was fans outside in the parking lot, even though they couldn't go in the building. And so I don't know. It's just something I think we're all very excited about. The people here have been outstanding and really can't look forward to the first day.
You got anything you want to say about that? I didn't think so. It's Vegas. Like, what's exciting about moving to Vegas? Everything. Yes, I don't know.
The strip, the strippers, gambling, the bunny ranch,
no state tax,
pool parties. I think that's really it.
Yeah. Moving on to the next question. There's a bit of a pause here.
Sam, is it me or you, Sam? Me?
Chris, go ahead. Yep, Sam dropped off.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Coach, can I just ask you a little bit about when you look at the building blocks to make this a defense that you want it to be, how far away, how far away are you? Do you kind of get a sense of that we need this, and this to get where I need to be?
Well, I think that, it'll be interesting to see. It'd be nice. I wish I could just tell you, okay, here's what we need to do, and here's how we got to get better. But really, I think everybody's going to have to improve. Coach Gruen and I talked about this. The way you see really great growth in a unit is when it's extremely uncomfortable. And I think that's the challenge that every player, every coach needs to feel, is that uncomfortable piece of it, to know that, hey, we got to all take our game to the next level. And I really believe the players, they're hungry to do that, and they want to get that done. But, obviously it starts up front. You need to be able to affect the quarterback. When you look at stats year in and year out, they say, if you stop the run, if you're in the top 5 stopping the run, does that give you a great chance to make in the playoffs? But really the stat that's consistent is the ability to affect the quarterback. If you can affect the quarterback, you got a good chance to help your team, make it to that level that you're all shooting for. And then, what goes on from there. So, that's why I think up front is so important. And I think there's pieces in place there. But to give you a fair assessment, I'd really like to have a chance to really watch the film, because sometimes in a system, they're going to play differently. There might be guys that played on the closed side, and we're going to ask them to play on the open side, and sometimes you can see great improvement just because of that. So, we'll evaluate everybody, but I am excited. I know there's a hungry group of guys, and they want to get better. Now, this is being passed on from Coach Gruen and the guys that I met with, but you can tell, when you see him play and Coach Marinelli talk about all the players and how much passion he has for them, I know this is a great group to start with.
So that's something that again that I really really liked. That I heard from him. He's saying, hey, maybe they're playing on the close side right now. We're going to ask him to move to the open side. So, he's leaving nothing off of the table. He's going to do what it takes to make sure that that these front four or front three, depending on, what scheme they, if they keep it a 4-3 or not, that these guys can get to the quarterback, that these guys can make the quarterback uncomfortable. And that's something that obviously this season was almost non-existent. The season before was really well. So hopefully Gus will be able to bring in some of whatever juice that Brenston Buckner had to get this defensive line going, and just do what it takes to put guys in the position, that they're going to succeed most in, and not be afraid to do that, because it obviously wasn't happening. And I don't know if Rob Marinelli didn't have the ability to do it, or had enough authority to do it, but we'll just have to wait and see. What do you think?
I like what he said there, and in regards to putting pressure on the quarterback, honest to God, I only remember the only time I felt that I really saw it this season was their first meet against the Broncos, where they practically killed Drew Lock. Since then, nothing. There were a lot of times going into certain games, certain matchups. As I'm thinking about it now, New England, the Chargers, who else? The Chiefs. Those are quarterbacks you knew were going to try to make something happen. And the one thing I had said going into those weeks was number one priority is to contain the quarterback. And funny enough, they had a couple of games where they did contain the quarterback, specifically the Patriots game. They contained Cam Newton. I was like, okay, so you stopped this. Belichick was like, well, I got something else for that ass. Started running the ball outside or running it up the middle, and that was one thing that we had the most problems with our front seven, was stopping the run, whether it was inside or outside. You guys are arm tackling. You guys are not gang tackling. We didn't really start seeing gang tackling until towards the end of the season, like the last two games. Like, simple things like that are what's going to help your defense succeed. And Bradley's saying he's going to look at tape and make adjustments and probably put guys on other sides. Like, maybe that'll help. Maybe right now that's their weakness, and playing to the other side will be their strong suit. We just have to wait and see how this plays out.
Yep, exactly. I completely agree. All right, so I believe this is the last question.
Just wondering how much leeway you're going to have in terms of building your staff. If there's anybody already that's part of that that you're bringing over with you, or current coaches on the staff in terms of their status.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's some staff members here that I would still like to visit with, and check with them and see how they are and their feelings and where they're at with the process. Obviously, I felt like we had a tremendous staff with the Chargers. I mean, at all positions, it really was. I really enjoyed it, and as many of those guys that we can bring, if there is spots that are open, that's always something that you take a look at. But there's some very good, I mean, like I said before, guys like Rod Marinelli. I mean, Rod Marinelli and I didn't get a chance to work together at Tampa, but I sure heard a lot about him. And there's so much respect for him and what he brings, not only on the field, but just developing coaches and developing players and the mindset. So, I mean, we're going to put together a really good staff, and it's going to be a staff that really we each can grow from each other on it.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. So I thought that was a really good question. As far as like, hey, how much leash are you getting from John Gruden? Fair question. And I feel like, he, obviously I believe the linebackers coach and the defensive linebacker and DB coach from the Chargers will be coming over to the Raiders. So we'll have to see. Obviously, Rob Marinelli's not going anywhere, but we'll have to see who else he brings in to bolster or upgrade or change this defensive coaches room. So, what do you think about what he had to say there, Hammer?
I would have pled the fifth. I would have pled the fifth because we know, unless he does something to really get Gruden to be like, okay, you guys can do this now. You can go 3-4, and you can try this, that, and the third. It's going to stay the same. Whether Raider fans want to hear that or not, whether Raiders players want to hear that and admit that or not, everything goes through Gruden right now. The $100 million man, everything is going to go through him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely will. We'll definitely have to see. I mean, I don't know if Mark Davis had a conversation with John Gruden, said, "Hey, last 3 years haven't been good enough. You better start, giving some reign to some other guys." And maybe that's why Mark Davis was in on the interview. I don't know. Nobody really knows what's going on behind the scenes. That's one of those remain to be seen. We'll have to wait and just see how things develop. That's one of those types of deals. But so I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines, and then we'll give our last thoughts, and unless we get some callers coming in. So you guys can call into the show live right now. Give us your 2 cents. Tell us what you think. 503-765-6807. So I'm going to say this, Hammer, and you let me know if you agree or disagree, and we don't have to agree, but you let me know. I feel like really there's really nowhere else to go but up from here. That's one of the positives you can take away from this whole situation. Things can only get better. I mean, our defense was abysmal this season. There was really, I'm trying to think of a highlight. There was, like I said, there were some flashes in some different situations. We're like, oh man, that was a good play. Oh man, that was a good turnover. But super inconsistent, tons of mistakes. Giving up huge chunk plays. Guys. Stopping the run was pretty much. It was really good at the beginning, and then it became super horrible. So there's just there's a lot of negative to say about this defense. So there's really only way to go up from the bottom, and it will happen, but we'll just have to see how far we can go from here. We do have a caller calling in.
Call from
Jim.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hey, what's up, Jim? You are on the show. What's going on, my man?
Yeah, I just got a quick question. Is Gruden, after the third year of his season, what if the Raiders have another year, the same year as we did next year?
That's a good question, man. If we have another season like we did this season, I would definitely like to see Gruden fired. Just bring him into the office, sit him down, and send him his walking papers. What do you think?
I think that, what do you do? You definitely have to have somebody to replace him. You know what I mean? But I don't think the offensive plays are up to speed with the NFL today. Do you agree with that? Or
yeah, I feel like sometimes he's definitely conservative with the play calling. I think sometimes the decision making is not very good as far as what do we do next. But at the same time, there are flashes, and I don't know if that's having to do with Carr making adjustments or what have you. But at the line of scrimmage, not really sure. But it definitely needs to be a more dynamic playbook. There needs to be more opportunities for guys like Ruggs and Edwards and Hunter Renfrow to get the ball, utilize Waller a lot more, to open up guys like Edwards and Ruggs. So yeah, it's definitely has not been good enough, but it has the potential to be very, very good with some tweaks to the playbook. Yeah.
Right. You bring in a new coordinator, and that it's pretty rare that it goes off overnight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Really.
So, I mean, I don't like I said. I see another year next year with the same results, unless the quarterback is a definitely mobile and I guess put some big bangers on the defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I appreciate the call, Jim. You have yourself a good night.
All right, you too.
Take care, Raider Nation. So, Hammer, what do you think?
Gruden's been a 500 coach these 3 years. Bradley said it himself. The offense has improved with draft picks and everything. Yeah, not utilizing guys the right way. Gruden's offense, oh my God, that playbook, his verbiage is confusing as fuck. And look at any of the quarterbacks that he had in his quarterback camp before he returned to the NFL sidelines as a head coach. And these guys trying to call out plays that he's giving them to run, like in the chalk room. Like, it is confusing as hell. Exactly why Lynn Bowden couldn't stay long enough with the Raiders, because he couldn't learn that playbook right away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this coming season, I think that if things don't turn around, if we're not in the playoffs, if we're not deep in the playoffs, then I think everybody, especially everybody in Black Hole Nation, everybody in Raider Nation, is going to call for Gruden's head and beg for a new head coach.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And Marcus 85, too much money in the team, stadium stock shareholders, people are going to be tapping their watches at Mark Davis.
Thanks.
I feel like that is definitely, Mark Davis didn't just go to his bank and pull out the money to build this stadium. There are people that have invested money in this team who live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and some of them may not be the guys you want to get on the wrong side of. I'm just saying. I don't know that for sure, but this is highly possible. So they want to make money, and they want to make it now. So
my money, and I need it now.
Exactly. Jeff Smith says Waller's basically a wide receiver for Raiders. It's why some wide receivers don't get the ball as much as Ruggs, or as much Ruggs needs to practice.
I have to disagree with that. I believe Waller is a big body target who makes things happen. Like I said earlier, Ruggs has more fumbles than he did touchdowns this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dude needs to get his strength up and needs to learn ball security a lot more. This ain't college football anymore. You can have your little 4.2 40, but it ain't going to do you any good if you can't catch the ball and can't hold on to the damn ball. Point blank, period.
Yep, most definitely. I feel like that, you have, as far as Gruden is concerned, I feel like you have got to give him at least one more season. Sometimes sometimes humility is a hard pill to swallow, and it takes a while to get it down. And so for John Gruden, maybe this last season, he finally got that humble pill down and he's ready to start making those changes, but we'll have to see. Again, we don't know. And we can't tell you because, oh, sorry.
Maybe.
It's possible. Maybe. You don't really know. But yeah, so Ashton said, agreed, Ruggs, Arnett, and Abram need to hit the weights. Yeah, most definitely.
Abram and Arnett just need to stop using their head so damn much. And this is coming from experience. It will not pay off in the long run. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of the mob, has anybody checked on Paul Gunther just to make sure? Just to make sure he's still around.
Any new stadiums being built, he might be buried under one of them already.
Maybe. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up unless you got anything else to add, Hammer.
Nah, man. We definitely had a lot of fun doing this one.
Yeah, was a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Jeff Smith, Loyal to the Soil. Ashton, Marcus 85, still around. Appreciate you guys. Be Al, still around. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. definitely leave a comment. We respond to all the comments left on the video, so leave a comment down in the comment section. Make sure if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share these videos with your Raiders friends, or with non-Raiders friends, just because you want to irritate somebody. I like to do that to Kansas City Chiefs fans. So anyhow, you guys, man, take care. Stay safe. You got any last words, Hammer?
I know you guys are already following my boy Raider J with My City, My Game and the rest of the Spotlight Sports Network. Come on over to Hammer's house and like, subscribe, and hit the bell as well. The support means a lot. And again, with this crazy-ass pandemic that's still going on, please continue to be safe. And most importantly, wash your hands and your asses.
All right. Well, with that, peace out, y'all.
Later.
But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are? Bitches out here be-
Welcome to Hammer's house.
Welcome to the My City, My Game pod show featuring Raider J77, your place for all things Raiders and all things Trailblazers. Brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Now let's go.